On Network Africa today, one person is killed as a protest by journalists in Kenya turns violent. Zimbabwe's ruling ZANU-PF party is accused of withholding food aid to areas occupied by opposition supporters. Plus, the African Green Revolution Forum continues in Kenya. Let's begin Network Africa. Welcome everyone, I am Amarachi Ubani. What began as a peaceful protest in Kenya turned awry as a photojournalist was shot dead in the western county of Kitale. The 26-year-old Dennis Otieno was reportedly attacked by a gang of 3 people who fired at him, leading to his death. His death comes days after a political reporter with the privately owned Standard newspaper, which he worked for, died mysteriously. Journalists have been protesting today against what they say is an increasingly hostile working environment. The march in Nairobi, organized by the Kenyan Union of Journalists, comes days after a political reporter died in mysterious circumstances. Now, when opposition sent to Parliament, they complain about being physically attacked and receiving death threats from politicians and members of the public. Journalists are using the hashtag #JournalistsUnderSiege to share pictures of the march and describe their experiences. Eric Gavala joins us now for more. He is in Nairobi. Eric, thank you for joining us on Network Africa.
Thank you.
What really happened today?
Well, the slain photographer's name is Dennis Otieno, and he was shot dead following an invasion of a gang of 3 into his home in Kitale, about 400 kilometers from Nairobi. That was on Wednesday night. And according to the area OCPD, the gang demanded to be given a photograph taken by the photographer recently before they shot at him twice. However, reports say that they missed, but the 3rd shot killed him. It is also reported that the gang made away with some valuables from the house, including the photographer's camera. So this has put journalists in the country in a very fearful state because of these attacks.
Eric, tell us more about this protest and how long it's been going on. Has it been intermittently, or did it just begin today?
Well, these protests regarding slain journalists and those who have been assaulted have been going on recently because in the past 2 months, we've had several cases of journalists being either physically assaulted or murdered. Because very recently, for example, I can give you an example. Just last week, a journalist was dead while he was at home from suspected poisoning, reportedly after a meeting with a senior politician. So journalists have been up in arms and demanding that the government brief them on the status of investigations into these murders and attacks.
It sounds like you're saying there is a face-off between the government and journalists in Kenya.
Pardon me, say that again?
I said it sounds like you're saying that there is a face-off between journalists and the government in Kenya.
Well, this is something that has been going on, and unfortunately that is the case, because journalists have been fighting for their rights in Kenya since independence. And in the 90s, there was some regime for the journalists, but it seems that now these murders and extrajudicial killings of journalists are back on. The journalists are demanding that, the government explain that what is the status of investigations into past cases of murder against journalists.
Eric, has there been any response by the government to the protests, especially the ones that held today? And has the government said anything about the young man who died away from the protest?
Well, unfortunately, the government has been silent on this. We've only had a statement from the area OCPD where Dennis Otieno, the plain journalist, is from. Now, the demonstrations today were marching in different areas of town, and they marched to the area of the Director of Public Prosecution. Unfortunately, the Director of Public Prosecution hasn't given out a statement, and the journalists are now in a state of, just wait and see, to see if the government is going to, offer a statement regarding this.
Eric, how often is it that journalists either go missing or are killed by security forces, or how often are they attacked in Kenya?
Well, I can say that the trend has recently been on the rise. I can't say a specific number, because I can say over the past 2 months, we've had several cases, because we've had, I think, 4 cases of journalists being attacked physically, either by the police or by demonstrators in different parts of the country. But the trend, which is worrying now, that is putting journalists in a state of fear, because they are being attacked while in the line of duty. And the fourth estate, is very integral in any society. And given that their role sometimes is to put the government in check. So we suspect that this is the reason why they are being targeted, why they are being assaulted, murdered, or, kidnapped.
Eric Gavala, thank you so much for joining us on Network Africa, and we do hope that you're safe in Nairobi. The UN says more than 100 fighters who have been loyal to ousted Vice President Riek Machar in South Sudan are in extremely bad shape and have been evacuated to receive medical attention elsewhere. The soldiers were discovered near the border. The country has suffered years of political unrest, leading to the deaths of many and the displacement of thousands more. And Mr. Machar, who is presently out of the country, had joined a unity government propelled by a peace deal signed last August.